Can you say with certainty that your client did not harass her?
I can say that with certainty that my client is one of the most honorable people I've ever met, is true and genuine, that without question, he did not. Now, whether she felt harassed or not is one thing.
What if one of Hollywood's most admired icons was on the brink of a downfall so epic it could reshape how we see the entire entertainment industry? That's the question swirling around Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, a once friendly duo now, trapped in a scorching legal battle that has turned into a full-scale Hollywood war. Allegations have surfaced, fortunes hang in the balance, and the twists are more tangled than any script you'll see on the big screen. No matter whose side you're on, something explosive is unfolding behind the scenes. From rumored strategic leaks to jaw-dropping legal moves worth hundreds of millions, this story is rewriting the playbook on how celebrities defend or destroy each other's reputations. And it's forcing fans everywhere to ask, who's really telling the truth, and how deep does the deception go? Not too long ago, Justin Baldoni was mostly known for his roles in heartwarming dramas and for his work behind the camera. Blake Lively, on the other hand, was, and still is, seen by many as one of Hollywood's golden figures. Beloved actress, brand ambassador, style icon, and half of a power couple that includes Ryan Reynolds. On the surface, they look like they were on the same team, especially after being linked to a film project titled It Ends With Us. But when whispers began circulating that Lively was deeply uncomfortable with Baldoni on set, a ripple turned into a tsunami almost overnight. Allegations surfaced claiming that he'd crossed professional lines, which Lively turned into a major grievance. Nobody expected it to escalate the way it did, yet soon, a swirl of rumor upon rumor suggested her team might have orchestrated a full-throttle campaign to paint Baldoni as a predator.
So even in her own CRD complaint and in her own initial filed complaint, it says that everything was fine from that point on. Okay. So now we're really limited to nothing more ultimately than was there a smear campaign.
Yes. Okay.
Suddenly, media outlets picked up these stories and ran with them hard. Baldoni, blindsided, found himself at the center of a brutal news cycle. According to his attorney, Brian Fredman, these headlines weren't just sensational. They were an all-out attempt to demolish his career before he even had a chance to defend himself. And the reason for it, Fredman suggests, goes far deeper than simple on-set drama. Here's where the story gains real momentum. Fredman claims that a few extremely well-connected individuals, starting with Lively's PR team, fed inside scoops to major publications, most notably the New York Times. According to Fredman, Lively wanted to ensure the public saw Justin Baldoni as a villain long before the courts could weigh in. When the Times finally published its piece, it arrived at a suspicious time, late on a holiday weekend, giving Baldoni barely half a day to respond.
Out of those 15 hours, a lot of those are sleep hours.
Okay.
For those that sleep. A lot of those are on a holiday weekend on a Friday night. Yes. At 9 o'clock at night. For those
that is, I will give you that. That is a shady move. If you're working on a story for months and you're giving somebody notice on a Friday night, that's a pretty shady move.
Then, that same article lit up social media, causing an immediate public outcry. This is where Fredman's coordinated smear argument gains traction. He insists the timeline proves that Lively's camp planned every move, from the leaks or precise timing to the outraged online frenzy that followed. Could it really have been orchestrated that carefully? Fredman thinks so. He's pointed out that many journalists sat on the story for months, refusing to publish until they got a full green light. Add to that an alleged trove of internal messages, and you get a strong whiff of behind-the-scenes deal-making that could potentially embarrass more than just Blake Lively. If Lively's camp expected Baldoni to stay quiet, they miscalculated. Within weeks, Justin fired back with a $400 million defamation suit. The staggering sum made headlines, partly because it signaled how serious he was about clearing his name. Fredman, his lawyer, argues that the damage to Baldoni's reputation is so immense that a massive payout is the only way to right the wrong. But money's not the only issue. Baldoni wants a full public apology and a retraction of the allegations. He asserts that Lively leveraged her star power and Hollywood alliances to ruin him, purely out of personal spite or ambition.
In that massive upload of documents, Blake leverages her friendship with Taylor Swift against Baldoni. She says, I'm like Khaleesi.
The lawsuit also targets the New York Times, indicating that Baldoni believes the paper not only failed to do due diligence, but worked alongside Lively's team to launch what he views as a malicious hit piece. Blake Lively hasn't backed down. Instead, her lawyers demanded an avalanche of subpoenas that would pry into Baldoni's private life. Everything from text messages to phone records spanning over 2 years. It's a game of high-stakes legal chess, both sides gathering as much intel as possible, searching for that one incriminating detail. In Hollywood, loyalty can shift in the blink of an eye. William Morris Endeavor, WME, one of the most influential talent agencies on the planet, found itself in a tricky situation. They represented both Lively and Baldoni. When trouble erupted, they had to pick a side. Unsurprisingly, they backed Lively, who, along with her husband Ryan Reynolds, brings in huge revenue streams from major film deals, endorsements, and even entrepreneurial ventures. Justin Baldoni, by comparison, is profitable, but not at the same cosmic level. Almost immediately, rumors emerged that Ari Emanuel, CEO of WME, orchestrated the pivot to protect more lucrative clients.
William Morris's CEO, Ari Emanuel, made it seem like a moral act of loyalty. Like that exists in Hollywood. He heaped praise on Ryan and Blake as soulfully beautiful people. Flawless, really. He mocked Baldoni in the process. He said, it's an effed up bad situation with what Baldoni, whatever his name is doing. So Ari goes on to say, if it's true what they're saying in that allegation, by the way, if it's true what Blake is saying, then these are bad guys. He goes on to say they didn't have an intimacy coordinator on the set. Ari Emanuel did all this on the Freakonomics podcast. He is a true Hollywood power player, right? He's feared. However, he is not an honest arbiter in this debacle. I mean, Ryan's 10% is a lot more lucrative to the agency than Baldoni's.
Emanuel even went on record in an interview, saying that if Lively's allegations were true, then Baldoni was a terrible guy. For many, that single if was code for, we're not actually sure, but we'll side with our biggest earners regardless. Baldoni's legal team slammed Emanuel's remarks as hypocritical, claiming that it's all about profit, not principle. They point out that the agency only voiced moral concern once it was clear that supporting Baldoni could cost them more lucrative deals. While all this was unfolding, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds made a high-profile guest appearance at Saturday Night Live's anniversary special. Many assumed they'd steer clear of the scandal. Instead, the couple addressed the swirling drama in a manner that came off as playful and dismissive, something that didn't sit well with a large chunk of viewers.
Oh, hey, Ryan Reynolds! Hey! Ryan Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
Your wife accusing a guy of sexual harassment, right? That's why it's no laughing matter, sexual harassment. So
I'm unaware of anybody, frankly, whose wife has been sexually harassed and has made jokes about that type of situation.
Online comments hammered the duo for joking about something so serious. Fredman wasted no time pointing out how bizarre it was to see a supposed victim publicly jesting about her own turmoil. In a real harassment scenario, who turns it into comedic fodder on national TV? Critics called it a PR nightmare, and rumors started that a few Hollywood heavyweights at the after-party wouldn't go anywhere near the couple. This public misstep only gave more ammunition to Baldoni's defamation suit. If Lively truly felt threatened, wouldn't she treat the situation with more gravity? Now, curiosity grew among fans and the broader public. Could it be that Lively's claims were blown out of proportion for maximum shock value? Possibly the strangest twist involves a trove of text messages that Fredman insists prove Lively's orchestrated campaign. Rumor has it that inside these messages, Lively uses cryptic nicknames, likening herself to a fantasy character named Ukizi while calling Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift her dragons.
From Game of Thrones, and my husband Ryan and my best friend Taylor are my dragons. They inspire me, they support me. Well, Taylor has been silent. Not a peep from Taylor. You know what I mean? Look, question for the women out there. If you tell your best friend you were sexually harassed by a guy, Wouldn't you hope that that dragon would breathe a little fire on that jerk in your defense?
Allegedly, these dragons would breathe metaphorical fire on Baldoni whenever the narrative needed a push. In one of the most talked about reveals, Lively calls upon her high-profile relationships to pressure media outlets into taking her side, or at least muzzle opposing voices. Yet, ironically, Taylor Swift hasn't uttered a single word defending Lively publicly. Fans noticed Swift's silence, sparking speculation that maybe she isn't fully convinced by Lively's version of events. If these messages are real, and if they end up presented in court, Lively might have a tough time explaining why her private tone seems so calculating compared to her tearful public claims. Indeed, it suggests a level of behind-the-scenes maneuvering that's far from accidental, and that may be exactly what Fredman needs to prove a targeted smear campaign. So, what's really motivating Blake Lively? Is this a matter of genuine wrongdoing on Baldoni's part, or is it about winning a high-stakes popularity contest? According to Fredman, her ultimate goal was twofold: maintain her image as a champion for women's safety while effectively derailing Baldoni's rising trajectory. And if she could ensure industry allies like the New York Times or WME were on her side, so much the better. Baldoni, for his part, sees it as personal revenge disguised as activism. He insists he's always treated colleagues with respect and was blindsided when Lively suddenly accused him of crossing lines. Fredman even underscored the fact that no official complaints were filed with Sony, the film's distributor. Could it be that Lively skipped legal channels in favor of a more sensational approach? Namely, stirring up a media storm to bury Baldoni's reputation? Hollywood sources say that if Lively thought she could weaponize popular movements without repercussion, she miscalculated. The public is more skeptical these days, and contradictory behavior, like joking about a serious accusation on TV, is impossible to sweep under the rug. With each passing day, both sides dig in deeper. Lively's team demands expansive access to Baldoni's private messages, phone logs, and more, hoping to catch him in some contradiction. In response, Fredman is going after Lively's communications with the Times and her PR strategists. If the court grants Fredman full access to those files, the truth of how and when each leak happened could become painfully transparent. The idea of this dispute heading to a full jury trial has Hollywood on edge. It's no secret that depositions can get messy, especially when big stars take the stand. If Lively has to testify, she could be cross-examined about every leaked text, every alleged timeline manipulation, and every flippant joke. If it turns out she knowingly exaggerated or lied to ruin Baldoni, her career might never recover. And if Baldoni loses, a $400 million judgment against him could be catastrophic. However, this isn't just about who wins financially, it's about setting a precedent. For years, accusations in Hollywood often emerged in tabloids before the truth could be vetted. If Baldoni manages to prove a deliberate smear campaign, it may deter others from using similar tactics to shut down careers. But if Lively somehow validates her side with tangible evidence, then we'll see a recalibration of how quickly the public rushes to support those who claim wrongdoing. As the stakes climb higher, the biggest question remains: is this a genuine cry for justice or a lethal power play? Both Baldoni and Lively are risking everything: reputations, friendships, alliances, even their futures in a notoriously fickle industry. As new documents trickle out, one reality becomes crystal clear. In Tinseltown, secrets rarely stay buried. For fans, the real shocker might be discovering just how meticulously stars can weaponize the media. And for Hollywood insiders, this trial, if it happens, could shift the balance of power, reminding every agency, every publicist, and every A-lister that carefully orchestrated narratives can just as easily collapse under the weight of their own contradictions. So who's telling the real story? Will the industry's highest circles rally around Lively, or will Baldoni's accusations of a ruthless smear campaign be proved right? As lawyers prepare to duke it out in court, one truth remains. Once illusions begin to crack in the spotlight, they sometimes shatter beyond repair, and that might be the most unsettling twist of all. No matter how this ends, Hollywood may never look quite the same again.